don't really care about the person if you sympathize with them. Because at the end of the day, if you endorse all of this, or if you sympathize with all this, you're not actually helping them solve any problem. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're flipping the script for another special edition episode to get Michael's take on how to practice emotional intelligence and stay calm and collected in high-stress situations, the key difference between sympathy and empathy when driving team performance, and why effectively leading others starts with effectively leading yourself.
If you're freaking out and you're a mess and you're stressed out and exhausted and you've lost control and you're reacting to everybody and you're just losing your temper and that sort of thing, how are you ever going to provide anybody with a sense of confidence?
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast. Here we are, back again.
Guess who's back? Back again. We're back. All right, for another AMA. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. We got great feedback on him. I heard the other day from a colleague who messaged me and he said he listened to it twice. And I said, wow, like that's awesome. Like, so good. It's like the mahi-mahi. That fish tastes so good, they named it twice. So
what a dad joke.
There you go. Yeah.
What a dad joke.
So for those of you tuning in, you guys submit the questions on these AMA segments and we answer them. You can submit a question by texting us at 404-531-7691. We may just answer your question on the show. You'll also realize something kind of unique about this podcast. We don't run ads. Now, as much as I would love to run ads for Athletic Greens, because they hit us up.
You just ran one.
I know, I shouldn't say this because someone's going to send me a letter. But they hit us up and they said, we're going to offer you some money and we're going to send you product, Athletic Greens. And I'm like, I already drink Athletic Greens. So I'd be getting free Athletic Greens, right? And then you just got to say, you just got to say what you like about it. And then I thought, but we say don't run ads, and we're not going to run ads because we like to be able to say whatever we want, and our guests to be able to say whatever they want, unfiltered, uncensored, and not be beholden to anyone. That's why we started the podcast. That's the best part, right? If you don't take someone's money, you get to say whatever the hell you want. As soon as you do, got to be careful. Certain things you can and cannot say. So no, thank you. And maybe that speaks to my independent nature. As an entrepreneur.
Probably why you started a business to start with.
No one starts a business to ask for permission, right? That's why it's always puzzling to me when I come across so-called entrepreneurs and they say, I'd like to do it, but I got to ask my team. What? I got to see if I can get my team's buy-in. Okay, so what happens if you present something to them that's going to elevate the firm, but it's going to require accountability and stepping up and could make some people uncomfortable. And they say, you know what? Naturally, as any rational human being would say under that type of scenario, they say, no, thanks. Then you come back, you say, well, I guess I couldn't get their buy-in. So then you don't grow, and you don't improve. What? And you started this whole thing. Your name is on the door, your name is on the building, and you are asking for permission.
There was a firm once who tried to implement KPIs, and they said, the team just is not on board. We can't do it.
I guess we will not have any measures of accountability. I guess if they don't want it, I guess we won't do it. And look, there's a difference between when you get someone's buy-in, let's say you share the why. There's ways to get people's buy-in. You can share, well, here's what's in it for them. We're going to grow. Obviously, the firm is going to be more profitable. This is going to create more opportunities for people. We're going to be able to have better benefits. You're going to have better career paths. You're going to make more money. Like, everything's going to be better, right? How you getting someone's buy-in. But even if you can't get someone's buy-in, does that mean you're not going to do it if it's the right thing to do? So it all comes back to why we don't run ads, which is the fact that I did not start this podcast to ask others for permission on what I can and cannot say. So because we don't run ads, there is a fee for the show. It is completely free to you, complimentary, so long as if you enjoy this episode or any other episode of the podcast, that you go on Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. It is free for you to do. You can do it right now, right as you're listening to this podcast. And I greatly appreciate it because this helps us reach more growth-minded entrepreneurs, law firm owners, and leaders. And it also helps us get more guests on the podcast because as the firm continues to grow and grow, right now we're the most listened to legal podcast. It's awesome. All these years, all right, continue to grow and grow and grow. And that wouldn't be possible without support from people like you. Yes, you listening to this podcast. We do a couple other types of episodes. We've got our traditional interview format. We got our encore editions, but this is the AMMA. So let's get on with it. Jessica, what do we got?
Awesome. So the theme this week is one I really think needs a lot of work in a lot of places, but it's around emotional intelligence and leadership. So EQ. So to kick us off with question number 1, I often find myself struggling to manage my emotions during high stress situations, which sometimes affects my decision-making process. How can I develop better emotional intelligence to improve my leadership skills and make more sound decisions under pressure?
I like to say that I'm becoming a more involved human being. This will answer this question. Because I will say that I'm, even at my ripe age of 38. Am I 38?
You are 38.
I sometimes think I'm 39, then they tell me I'm 38. But even at this point, I find that I'm still quite immature. I'll crack a joke every now and then. I'll laugh. Sometimes I'll crack myself up, right? And that's just a part of it. But when we talk about evolution, the difference between an amateur and a professional is a professional can regulate their emotions, right? That doesn't mean you still don't feel them. It just means that sometimes you don't act on them in that very moment. So there are times, man, I remember back in the day, I was horrible at this. I like to think I'm still not great, but I think I am improved. Better every day. Better than yesterday, the core value. So I remember times where I would get upset or I would get bothered right as soon as somebody just really screwed me over, right? I'd be like, oh man, I'd get so angry, right? And that would just derail a meeting, or I would throw off the day, or I would do something stupid. Like I would post some bullshit fucking quote on social media.
You would react.
Live, life, love. You know what I mean? Like you post the kind of thing that you're just a victim, or you're trying to react and respond to get even at somebody. So I used to do that initially. I don't think it helped me. I really don't. I think that it ultimately probably did not help the business grow in any way, and it didn't build a lot of trust and confidence in the people around me. And then I realized there's another way. So when you feel whatever it is that you feel, whether you were wronged, whether you're experiencing extreme stress, whether you are in a situation where like something bad happened, like the daggers, right? Like something you did not expect that day, just rear-ended, both literally or even figuratively. And you have to respond. Sometimes you think about it and say, well, does this need a response right now? Because I am in an emotional state. And when I'm in an emotional state, my brain is not operating logically. I'm not going to make the best decision here. I learned that you can apply what's called the 24-hour rule. So sometimes if you experience something comes across your desk, you experience some sort of situation that just rubs you the wrong way, instead of responding immediately, sleep on it and see how you feel the very next day. Sometimes I see something and I'm like, okay, I'm emotionally triggered by that. It rubs me the wrong way, it bothers me, whatever it might be, and I can respond to that email right away, or I can respond to that Slack right away, or I can realize that I'm in a flustered state and say that perhaps the response that I would give right now may not be the same response that I would give if I was cool, calm, and collected. So why don't I just wait 24 hours? And I sometimes even type the message out and then I don't hit send. And then 24 hours later, I look at it and I'm like, that's ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. Who gives a shit? It's not a problem. It's no big deal. Or sometimes you don't even know somebody else's intent. Maybe they didn't mean anything by it. Maybe it's nothing. Just ask a question. Be like, okay, what did you mean by that? And then they'll say, oh, I didn't mean, nothing. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. You were just asking a question.
What if you don't have 24 hours?
Well, if you don't have 24 hours, then you can apply the 12-hour rule. And if you don't have the 12 hours, you can apply the 1-hour rule. You always have some time.
Moment.
You always have a moment, right? You pause. Maybe you pause and you go on a walk. Maybe you go exercise, so that way you can get your frustrations and emotions out. Like people ask, why do I exercise? And they think, oh, it's all the health and physical benefits. They think it's because you want to be jacked, or you want to have great mobility, or you want to improve longevity. And it could be all those things, but I exercise on a daily basis so I don't kill anybody. It is that important, okay? Because I know what happens when I don't. If you don't have some sort of outlet to be able to get that energy and emotion out, right? For me, exercising is like Zen. Same thing with meditation, same thing with sauna. And by the way, you know what? Let's say you only have 3 minutes from your time response. The best thing you can do is submerge yourself in a cold plunge or take a cold ass shower.
That will distract you.
Because I promise you, that will neutralize anything that you are feeling, because all you'll be focusing on is staying warm. And then you can revisit the situation. So it's really about like taking a step back, being introspective, thinking about it, right? And then stepping back in. So I think that's the biggest thing that has helped me from an emotional regulation standpoint. I think Jocko Willink even said that when you react, it's a sign of weakness. If you get all flustered, if you get all angry, and this is different from passion. This is just where like you lose control. That is weakness. I catch myself sometimes when with our girls, when they be testing my patience. I'm putting one to bed at night, and before you know it, man, she got a whole to-do list, right? I'm thirsty, I'm hungry. Then we start putting the sheets up. She doesn't like how her sheets are nestling around her body. Then she doesn't like the direction the pillow is facing.
Oh, yeah.
Then we got all the stuffed animals in the front. She doesn't like the direction they're facing.
I wonder where she became so particular about things.
So in those moments, I just get a little frustrated, right? I'm like, Mila, we got to go to bed. Now I'm like, okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to see how far you can push this envelope and me not even react, right? Not at all. Say, hey, no problem, right? Oh, we got to adjust the bed sheet again. No problem. She's like, okay, one more time. We got to, this is a stuffed animal. Okay, no problem. She's like, oh, okay, can I have another sip of water? Yeah, no, absolutely. No big deal. And bedtime happens faster, right? Because when you react, and this is like the kid's example, this is also the adult example, when you get all flustered, then somebody else gets flustered.
It
and then
escalates.
Then now they're paralyzed, or things get escalated, and then it just starts to build up into an even worse scenario and a worse situation, and nothing productive is taking place. So 24-hour rule, if you don't have 24 hours, take 12 hours. If you don't have 12 hours, take 1 hour. And if you don't have an hour, take 3 minutes and submerge yourself in a cold plunge. Or if you don't have a cold plunge, take a cold shower. We'll go on a walk.
Reset yourself.
Reset yourself.
Okay, moving on to question number 2. I sometimes find it challenging to balance empathy with the need to maintain high standards and accountability within my team. How can I strike the right balance between being empathetic and ensuring the performance standards are met?
What's the balance? I mean, with this thing, it's like with empathy and performance standards, I think the two go hand in hand. I think sometimes people confuse the word empathy with sympathy. Sympathy is when you experience a situation or someone's sharing something that's going on and you're saying, I feel so sorry for you. Oh, you poor baby, you poor thing. How could this happen? Empathy is when you're putting yourself in someone's shoes of saying, oh, I imagine that's difficult. And you feel for them, but at the same time, you don't pity them. You don't victimize them, right? So to me, it's like if of course you want to have empathy. You have to realize that we're all human. We're all navigating our own personal challenges. We're all going through difficult times. You never know what's on the other side of someone. But that being said, in a professional relationship, I can empathize with the fact that you're experiencing a difficult time. I empathize with that, right? I've experienced a difficult time. I know people have experienced a difficult time, and I understand you're experiencing a difficult time. But what's going to be our plan for getting this done, right? And how can I support you? Because I empathize and I want to help you. But at the same time, I'm not going to victimize you and say that I'm going to lower my standard for you, right? I'm not going to expect less of you. It's basically saying, okay, your car broke down. I empathize with that. Sometimes cars are unreliable. But what's going to be your plan for getting me work on time, right? And how can I best support you?
Cy Wakeman. It's like, these are the circumstances, and so this is the reality, and what is your plan to succeed in this reality?
Yeah. So the onus is putting, turning it over and saying, like, okay, understood. I understand that is difficult. And I feel for you, right? I don't want anyone to go through a difficult time. I don't want anyone to struggle. But we still have the standard of performance. So let's talk about how we can make this happen, right? Maybe how I can help you through that process. I think that's the biggest thing. And to me, I don't know so much if it's a balance. It's just that shows you care about someone. I think intent matters a lot. Think about it this way. When you sympathize with someone, they say, oh man, I'm going through a really difficult time and they're having all sorts of just, problems in their life. We all know some of the most unlucky people in this world, right? Car breaks down, air conditioner breaks.
Dog ate your homework.
The dog got pregnant, traffic on the way to work. And if you sympathize with someone, you're saying, oh, you poor thing. Bad things just keep happening to you. But you know what's worse than your car breaking down and your dog eating your homework and your air conditioning unit breaking and you not being able to make it work on time? Is not having a job. Because at the end of the day, I imagine you still need to pay rent and you still have, people you need to support in your life, even if it's just you. So that sympathy, Kim Scott calls it, it's like ruinous empathy, right? You don't really care about the person if you sympathize with them. Because at the end of the day, if you endorse all of this, or if you sympathize with all this, you're not actually helping them solve any problem. But on the other side of this, if it's empathy and you're saying, okay, cool, your car broke down, your air conditioning unit broke, whatever it is, like, how can we ensure you get to work on time, right? What's going to be, because again, I want to hold you to the standard because you said, here are your goals. This is why this is important to you. You want to be able to make an impact. You want to be able to grow in your career financially. You want to grow in your career even professionally. And I want to continue to support that because I respect you as a human being. I want you to be successful. And I know that if I am just enabling or tolerant of the nonsense that you're experiencing in your life, and it's not always nonsense, unless, sometimes it's like they're very, very valid things. But if I am allowing that to excuse the standard that I hold you to, then I'm doing you a disservice. I'm not benefiting you in any way by allowing you to essentially underperform, hold the team back, hold yourself back, and put yourself in a scenario that probably could be even more difficult for you.
Allowing someone to just wallow in misery.
Yeah.
Okay, so to round us out with number 3 today, so during times of uncertainty, my team often looks to me for guidance and reassurance. How can I lead effectively and provide the support my team needs during such times?
During difficult times of change.
Yes.
They look to you, the leader.
That goes back to entrepreneurship.
Heaven lies the crown, right? So how do you best support your team? Start with you. So when things are difficult, and this actually kind of goes with some of the other two questions. This is good. Good job, Jessica. Is that, look, if you're freaking out and you're a mess and you're stressed out and exhausted and you've lost control and you're reacting to everybody and you're just losing you're using your temper and that sort of thing, how are you ever going to provide anybody with a sense of confidence in you as a leader? And if they don't have confidence in you as a leader, guess what happens next? Straight to Indeed.com, right? I'm out of here because they are relying on your organization for their livelihood, to support their family, their children, to pay their rent, to pay their bills, to be able to buy groceries. And if they don't feel like that business is going to be able to sustain that, or they're on shaky footing because they look at you as a leader and you're freaking out all the time and you're losing control, there it goes, right? Actually, I was thinking about this last night. I think I even mentioned this. Oh man, I can't say this example, so we're going to probably have to edit this out. But I thought, like, what would happen when we do our monthly all hands meetings, we address the entire company, provide updates on here's how everything's going in every single department, here's what, the wins, areas for growth, here's what's going to happen next month. And then I give my, my TED Talk, my address, answer any questions that anybody has. And imagine I went up there and I did not look like I had my mental faculties in place. Like if I went up there and I looked like I was just exhausted, I wasn't able to form sentences, everybody around the company would be like, I'm out of here, right? I'm not confident in this. So I think it really starts with like how you're able to lead yourself. You don't have to bleep it out. Okay, everybody knows, right? But like my point is that you start by leading yourself. And you start by ensuring that you have your shit together. You put on your oxygen mask first so that when you show up, you're ready to rock. It means you got to get a good night's sleep. And you got to find a way to do that. Sometimes it means you got to take care of yourself physically and mentally. You got to come in restored. If you take weekends off, the weekends are for restoration, right? The weekends aren't to come back in more exhausted than when you left. It's to come in ready to go. You got to be professional. And if you do so, others will start modeling that standard as well. It's the difference between what you say and what you do. And they're always going to take those cues from you, right? Is this the type of person that I respect? Years ago, I worked at a company and I remember, there's people in leadership and there was a time where I was like, I really want to kind of grow through this company. And I remember seeing the CEO and this person was like cheating on their wife and they were like, an alcoholic and they were just in terrible shape. And I was like, you know what? I don't know that makes me want to work harder for this organization. And I certainly don't want to climb the ranks of this organization because if that's what it looks like and get to the top, no thanks. Versus let's flip all those things and you can create this, ideal worth striving for. But it starts with you. And it starts with you leading yourself, you keeping your promises to yourself, you keeping your promises to others, right? Being consistent every single day, Monday through Friday, maybe Monday through Sunday. And you do that over, day after day, month after month, year after year. And then when there are difficult times, then people will look to you for what to do. And if you're not freaking out, instead of reacting, you're responding and you're transparent and you're vulnerable and you're authentic. I think that matters a lot. So I think that's the best thing to do, to just maintain control. And it starts with you taking care of yourself first so you don't bring your bullshit into the office, okay, as a leader. Don't you dare bring that bullshit in, okay?
Everyone feels it.
You know, you wouldn't want it from anybody else. And you are a leader, which means you have an additional layer of responsibility that you are accountable for other human beings. And they are betting on you in many ways for their livelihood and their careers. So if you don't take that seriously, then maybe you shouldn't be a leader. I can get all riled up about this, but I won't, because I'm, responding and not reacting.
Being a professional.
I'm being a professional. I'm just saying that it just blows my mind when I see so-called leaders in quotes that have lost themselves and are a mess. And I get it. Things happen.
But their mood then dictates the entire company.
But your mood dictates the company, and it is your business. And you just have to realize that you have a level of responsibility. And it's not, it's no different than if you were with your kids. It's like they're looking for cues. Those cues are going to dictate the way they are. If they see you are the kind of person that's super reactive and you're abrasive towards people, or you treat people with disrespect, guess what they're going to do? They're going to think that's the way you treat people. And they think that's the way that's going to act. If you throw temper tantrums, they're going to throw temper tantrums. Like, I remember seeing our youngest 3-year-old, she just lost her mind the other night for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, for absolutely no reason, right? Just because I think like one blanket was laying in one direction, and another blanket was laying in another direction. And I looked at it and I was like, this is kind of cute, right? When she was all like glitching out all over the floor, I was like, this is kind of cute. But you know what's not cute?
When you're an adult.
When you're an adult and you do that.
Yeah.
Okay? That is not cute at all.
Do you imagine if adults responded the way that children do, just in the floor glitching out?
I mean, yes, I can imagine that. So that's just a testament of a person who's not evolved, right? And you certainly, if that person was like, let's say, a little glitching out on the floor, you certainly wouldn't want to say, hey, I want this to be my leader. Like, are you nuts? Anyway, I hope that's a sufficient answer to this question.
I think that is the perfect way to wrap up this AMMA.
All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at gamechangingattorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.